Barbara Walters, Harry Reasoner bring you the news.
Good evening. It was not until shortly after noon in Washington today that Gerald Ford appeared before newsmen at the White House to concede that he had lost one of the closest presidential elections in recent American history. He conceded with grace and style and dignity, as we'll see. Barbara?
Also tonight, Howard K. Smith comments on the difficult and sometimes unpopular work that lies ahead for Jimmy Carter. We'll see the president-elect and his family and his friends on an emotional morning after in Georgia. Likewise, in Washington, President Ford and his family in their public appearance, urging all Americans to unite behind the next president. Pollster Lou Harris will be here to tell us how Jimmy Carter put together his winning combination of electoral votes and how a history-making coalition of whites and blacks put him over the top. Harry?
If any further proof is needed tonight that yesterday's election was close, consider the fact that in both Ohio and Oregon, no winner has been declared in the presidential race and may not be for days. That's how close it is in those states. We can see how the different regions of the country voted on this election map. The 22 states projected for Carter are in blue, the darker color if you're watching in black and white. Carter also won the District of Columbia. The Ford states are in yellow, the lighter color, 26 states in the president's column. Carter was very strong in the Deep South, strong in the populous states of the East, and in the border states. The president won most of his electoral votes in the Midwest, the Southwest, and the West.
Well, nevertheless, Harry, the next president will be Jimmy Carter, and our ABC News count shows these projected electoral votes: 272 for Carter, only 2 more than the absolute minimum needed by the winner, and 235 for Mr. Ford. With more than 90% of the popular votes counted, Jimmy Carter's margin remains at under 2 million. The way it was all through the long night of counting, about 40,276,000 for the winner, and more than 38.5 million for the loser.
In the final frantic hours of campaigning, President Ford exhorted his supporters for a home run, a touchdown. Today, appearing in the White House press room, the president said to reporters, "We lost it in the last quarter." Tom Jarrell has more on Mr. Ford's concession appearance this afternoon.
With daylight came the grim reality. Mr. Ford went to bed believing he might still somehow win. But at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, his top aides marched into his office and said it was over. The president assembled his family, and because he had nearly lost his voice campaigning, asked his wife to read a telegram after he spoke briefly.
I do want to express on a personal basis my appreciation and that of my family for the friendship that all of us have had. Let me call on the real spokesman for the family, Patty.
The president asked me to tell you that he telephoned President-elect Carter a short time ago and congratulated him on his victory. It's been the greatest honor of my husband's life to have served his fellow Americans during 2 of the most difficult years in our history. The president urges all Americans to join him in giving your united support to President-elect Carter as he prepares to assume his new responsibilities. I'd like to read you the telegram the president sent to President-elect Carter this morning. Dear Jimmy, it is apparent now that you have won our long and intense struggle for presidency. I congratulate you on your victory. As one who has been honored to serve the people of this great land, both in Congress and as president, I believe that we must now put divisions of the campaign behind us and unite the country once again in the common pursuit of peace and prosperity.
Appearing fatigued and emotionally drained, Mr. Ford walked through the press room greeting reporters. He accepted the close returns as final and demanded no recounts. He showed no bitterness either toward Mr. Carter or the newsmen who had pursued him down the long campaign trail. Tom Jarrell, ABC News at the White House.
If the mood at the White House today was somber, it was in turn ecstatic and tearful last night and today in Plains, Georgia. President-elect James Earl Carter Jr., with as little sleep as everybody else, in a thoughtful and thankful mood, thanking those who backed him and already assigning staff members to work with the White House to make sure of a smooth transition to the highest office in this country. Sam Donaldson has spent the entire political campaign with Jimmy Carter, and these last few hours were no exception.
Jimmy Carter may have taken a nap this morning, but not a long one. He didn't get home until shortly before 8, and President Ford was on the phone around 11. But that was a call Carter said in the mid-afternoon statement he was glad to receive.
I deeply appreciate the call from President Ford and his gracious expression of congratulations and cooperation. I express my admiration for him and for the strong, well-planned, and effective campaign that he ran. I'm particularly grateful for his offer of close cooperation during this transition period between the election and Inauguration Day, and also during the next administration. One of the very first tasks facing any new president is the unification of our country after a close and hard-fought election. President Ford's characteristically gracious statement today will make that job much easier for me.
Carter said transition arrangements are already underway between the two staffs. He promised to elaborate in a news conference tomorrow or Friday. Then the plan is shaping up for Carter to vacation somewhere away from Plains, perhaps in Georgia, perhaps in the Caribbean. Shortly before dawn this morning, Carter returned to South Georgia, his daughter Amy in his arms, from his Atlanta victory celebration. Returned to Plains, where relatives and well-wishers had been waiting all night. His brother Billy. His mother, Miss Lillian. And when he spoke, there was exuberance, sudden emotion, and a solemn pledge.
I told you I didn't intend to lose. I came all the way through 22 months, and I didn't get choked up until I... This next couple of months, I'll be doing the best I can to prepare myself to be a president, of which all of you will be proud. And I believe that I can make the kind of leadership in the White House that can tap the greatness that's in all of you.
It is fair to consider the closeness of the race and what it turned on, the narrowness of the mandate and the difficulty ahead in exercising it. But the fact remains, Jimmy Carter, to use his own words, was a man who didn't hold public office, who didn't have much money or a big campaign organization, who came from the South, but overcame it all to make political history, and now promises to do his best to go on to make presidential history. Sam Donaldson, ABC News, Plains, Georgia.
Well, the